Yes,
yes.
Trevor.
Significant figures are numbers in position, are digits in the number that are reliable and necessary to
That's unnecessary and reliable. So I can hear an aspect of
something.
You are not clear. Please repeat once more. Reliable and
significant figures are digits in the number that are reliable and absolutely necessary to
absolutely necessary. And absolutely necessary. Should highlight that. And absolutely. Yes. So without these numbers or without these figures, the number becomes meaningless. So they have to be necessary. Okay. In other words, these are important figures in a number. You know, we have a number, okay, and we have figures that make up a number. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes. So 100 is a number, not so?
Excuse me, teacher.
Let me first stop. 100 is a number, but 100 is made up of figures or digits. And which digits are those? That is 1, 0, 0.
0.
So those are the digits or figures that make up the number 100. So we have a number, we also have digits, okay?
Yes.
We have a number, we also have digits or figures. So we are saying that significant figures, these are the important ones, okay? The important figures in a number. Without these figures, the number becomes meaningless, okay? Without this figure, the number becomes meaningless. Yes. So, in simple terms, they're like important figures, okay? Important figures. Without these figures, the number becomes meaningless because we have differentiated now a number and a figure, not so? Haven't we?
Yes.
We have differentiated numbers and digits and figures, not so? So when I talk about important figures or important digits, you understand what I mean?
Yes.
So we are saying 100 is a number, but 100 is made up of digits or is made up of figures. And which figures are those?
1, 0, 0.
1, 0, 0. Very good. So we are saying that now a significant figure, it is an important digit or an important figure. Without it, the number becomes meaningless. Okay? The number becomes meaningless.
Yes.
Are we together?
Meaningless.
So
yes.
I'll still use 100. Are you saying 100?
Yes.
Yes.
If I remove one digit from 100, let me say I remove 10, what do I remain with?
10.
10. So 10 is still meaningful, not so?
Yes.
How about if I remove the second 0 also? What do I remain with?
1.
You remain with 1. So it's still meaningful.
Yeah.
How about if that means, how about if I remove the 1 and I leave the zeros? What do I remain with?
0.
Zeros.
So can you use 0 to measure? Can you measure something and you say that it is 0 kilograms, it is 0 centimeters? So that means if I remove 1 and I remain with a 0, my number remains meaningless, not so?
Yes.
So that means in that case, 1 is a significant figure, which is very important. You get it?
Yes.
So that means in this case, in 100, 1 is very important. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes, teacher.
Therefore, 1 is significant in 100. 1 is a significant figure in the number 100. Are you now picturing what significant figures are?
Yes.
So these are the figures whereby if we remove them, when we remove them, our number becomes meaningless. Okay? We can't use it to do what?
Yes.
To measure. Is that okay?
Yes.
Now,
Teacher,
yes.
what about a number like 245?
Your name? Louder.
Amira.
Amira. So what about a number like 245? Now we have rules, okay? We have rules that we use, okay, to determine number of significant figures in a number. Is that okay? So we have these
Yes.
rules that we have to follow. Now, since I don't have a blackboard, there is a video I'm going to play so that we first follow. We pick something, then we come back and we discuss together. Is that okay? Miss Anamdala?
Yes. Yes.
So I'm going to play for you this video. Look at it keenly. After watching it, we're going to discuss together. You see.
Yes.
In this video, we're going to go over significant figures, how to count them, how to round them to the right digit. We're going to talk about additions, for examples, some combined operations, and things like that. So the first thing you need to know is that any non-zero number is counted as a significant figure. So 126 has three significant digits, 1, 2, 3. So it has three sig figs. 95 has two significant figures, and 4,873 has four significant figures.
Are we following? Are we following?
Yes.
But teacher, we can't hear.
making noise.
Making noises, so we mute them.
There are people talking.
Yes.
Teacher, I'm not
We are not
hearing.
able to hear.
Okay, Miss Anamdala. People are making a lot of noise. Let's mute them. They can't hear the video.
What about this one? 404. We're going to talk about
So
addition,
I'm
subtraction,
repeating. Let's
multiplication,
follow.
division, scientific notation, and we're going to go over some hard examples, some combined operations, and things like that. So the first thing you need to know is that any non-zero number is counted as a significant figure. So 126 has three significant digits, 1, 2, 3. So it has three sig figs. 95 has two significant figures, and 4,873 has four significant figures. What about this one? 404. How many significant figures does this number has? Now, in between zeros, zeros that are in between non-zero numbers are always counted as significant. So therefore, all three of these numbers are significant. So it has three sig figs. So what about 5,006? And this has four significant figures. Now what about 70,008? How many sig figs are in this number? So the zeros that are in between 7 and 8 are counted as significant. However, the trailing zeros, which is the zero to the right of the 8, trailing zeros are not significant if there's no decimal point. But if there is a decimal point, they become significant. So therefore, we don't have a decimal point, so we only have four significant figures. So what about the number 8,000? How many sig figs are there? So there's no decimal point, so all the zeros to the right of the 8 are trailing zeros. So therefore, this only has one sig fig. 800 also has one significant figure. Now, let's say if we put a decimal point, how many sig figs do we have? So now the zeros to the right of the 8 are counted as significant figures. So we have 3 sig figs in this case. Now what about 800.0? So we count all the zeros, including the one to the right of the decimal point, since all of the zeros are to the right of the 8. So in that example, it has 4 sig figs. Now what about this one? 50,060 with a decimal point. How many sig figs are in this number? So since we have a decimal, every zero to the right of a non-zero number will be counted as significant. So we have 5 significant figures. Now what about this one? So all of the in-between zeros and the 3 trailing zeros to the right of the 6, they're all counted. So in this case, we have 7 significant figures. Now let's say if we have a very small number, 0.0153. How many sig figs do we have? Now the zeros to the left of a non-zero number are known as leading zeros, and they're not counted as significant. So these 2 leading zeros are not counted, even if there's a decimal point. So we only have 3 significant figures. Now what about
I'm done.
0.00100?
They're saying the volume is still too low.
In between zeros are always counted as significant, so that's 4. Now what about this one? 0.00010700. How many sig figs are in that number? So we have 2 non-zero numbers. We have an in-between zero, and also we have 2 trailing zeros which are to the right of a non-zero number. But the leading zeros are not counted as significant. The trailing zeros are significant since we have a decimal point. So there's a total of 5 sig figs in this example. Now what about this one? 0.05070080. So every zero to the right of the 5 is going to be counted as significant since we have a decimal point. So we have a total of 7 significant figures in this example. Now what about numbers in scientific notation? So let's say if you have 2.53 times 10 to the 4, how many significant figures are in this number? So for a number expressed in scientific notation, you could ignore this part, the multiplier. So simply count the number of sig figs that you see here. In this case, it's 3. Now what about 3.06 times 10 to the negative 5? So the in-between zeros counted as significant, so we have 3 sig figs. And what about 1.000 times 10 to the 8? So all of the trailing zeros are counted as significant, so we have a total of 4 since there's a decimal point. And finally, what about
The rules. I want us to first discuss the rules. Those were the rules we use when we are determining the number of significant figures. When we are determining the number of significant figures in a number. Have we followed the rules? The rules. So I'm going to choose a few to give me one rule, any one rule that you have understood that we use to determine the number of significant figures in a number. Okay? Give me one rule. Zabu. Hello?
Yeah, what I've understood is that
your name, please. Your name first.
Kezabu Bella Kama.
Okay, yes, Kezabu.
I've understood if the 0 is in between the significant numbers,
If the 0 is in between what?
the significant numbers, the 0 is also counted as a significant number. But
So
if
if
it begins, like if it's, for example, if it's 0, if it's 0.005308, the zeros at the beginning are not counted as significant numbers, even though there's a decimal point.
So one rule that you have understood that is clear, that if a 0 is in between non-zero digits, okay?
Yes.
If it's in between non-zero digits, that 0 is also counted as a significant figure.
Number. Yes.
A significant number. Thank you. Let me choose someone else to tell me what she has understood. Thank you, Kezabu. That is
Teacher, what I understood is...
Your name?
Nganzi Angela.
Nganzi Angela, yes.
What I understood is that when a 0 is before the decimal point, it's not considered as a significant number. But
So
when
if
when it's after the decimal number, it's considered as a significant figure.
Thank you, Angela. Angela is saying that when a 0 is before, okay? When a 0 is before, and that gentleman was using a word leading zeros, okay? Leading 0. If it's before, or we can use the left-hand side of a decimal point or of a non-zero digit, then that 0 is not considered to be a significant figure. But if it's on the right-hand side, or it is trailing, or it is after a decimal point, then we can consider it to be a significant figure. Thank you, Angela. Lastly, I want to hear from... Hello? I'm waiting for someone. One more person.
All
Hello.
Your
name, please.
After the decimal point are significant.
Your name, please. Hello. Your name, Amal.
When the digit is multiplied, when the number is multiplied and there is no
significant figures.
Okay. Thank you, all of you. Thank you.
Teacher.
Yes.
Amal.
Yes, Amal.
When the digit is multiplied,
yes.
The power is not considered, but the numbers are considered. So we have to count the numbers, but not the power.
Okay, thank you. We'll come to multiplication. Let's meet all of them. Okay. Thank you so much. So to briefly go through the rules, summarize up the rules, we have majorly 3 rules, okay, that we have to use. Those who have books nearby, you can write down something. One rule says, if you're those who have the those who have our NCDC physics prototype, the textbook for the student, this one, page 26, to have this book. I sent you the what? The soft copy on the WhatsApp group. So those who have it, open it, go to page 26. I've also displayed some figures in a number. So we have those rules, we have a table. NCDC summarized them in 2 forms, but there are majorly 3 that we can follow without us not getting disorganized. I'm also showing you the students. So we have a table that I'm trying to put for you on page 26. Page 26. Page 26, those who are already there. Those who don't have the hard copy, I'm displaying it on the screen. I'm displaying it on the screen so that we can follow. Okay, so we have rule 1. Rule 1 is saying all non-zero digits are significant. All the non-zero, of course, when we say non-zero, that means it should not be a 0. So any digit that is not a 0, you count it as a significant figure. Is that okay? All non-zero digits are significant. Non-zeros begin from 1 up to 9. So non-zero digits we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All those are non-zero digits. So each time you have a number and it has those non-zero digits, all the digits will be counted as significant figures. And in the table, they give you an example of 4,362. Those who are looking at the example. So it has 4, 3, 6, 2. All those are non-zero digits, and we counted all of them to be significant figures. So that number in the example below has 4 significant figures. So that is rule 1. So to check if people have understood rule 1, what does the number 126 how many significant figures does the number 126 have? How many significant figures does the number 126 have? Thank you, Nuriat. Nuriat is telling me 3, Ryan, Mirembe, Rizik, 3 significant figures. Thank you, Stephanie, Anna. Very good. People have understood rule 1. The response shows that people have understood rule 1. They're saying that 126 has 3 significant figures. So it has 1, 2, and 6. And all those are non-zero digits. All those are non-zero figures. So we count them as significant figures. Is that okay? So people have understood rule 1. So that is rule 1. Now we have rule 2. Rule 2 says that all the zeros, okay? Rule 2 is saying that all the zeros, all the zeros occurring in between non-zero digits. All the zeros occurring in between, for as long as it's in between non-zero digits, are considered to be significant figures. Is that okay? All the zeros in between. And they gave us an example. We have mass of 605 grams. Mass of 605 grams. And they're saying that one has 3 significant figures. Why? Because the 0 is in between. So it has a 6, a 0 that is in between, and a 5. And they're saying total, there are 3 significant figures. So that is rule 2. Rule 2 says that if you have a 0 that is in between non-zero digits, you should also count it as a significant figure. So to check if people have understood, 1002 significant figures. 1002 has how many significant figures? Thank you so much. People are already giving me responses. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Rahma, Elisa, Gloria, Lynn, Uhura, Raihana, Mulumba. Thank you. Thank you so much. Correct. 1002 has 4 significant figures. How about, yes. How about, there's a number I'm going to write on a piece of paper, and I show it to you here. I'm writing it. Since we don't have a blackboard, we are going to improvise. Will this pen be clear? The red one be clear? We have this number. Can you see it clearly on the screen? 10,037. 10,037. Are you seeing that number? 10,307. Sorry. 10,307. How many significant figures does this number have? Wow, Wahida, thank you, thank you. So all the 2 zeros are in between non-zero digits, and people are passing it. It has 5 significant figures. It has 5 significant figures. People have understood rule 2. People have understood rule 2. I'm getting beautiful responses, correct responses. People have understood rule 2. Lastly, how about this one? How many significant figures does this one have? This is 70,020. Let me even put a comma. That is a comma. How many significant figures does this one have? How many significant figures does this one have? Let me allow one person to send me an audio. I'm seeing people sending their responses in the chat. Thank you. Let me hear from you. Hello? Hello, Kat. Your name?
My name is Nazneen Katende.
Nazneen Katende. Very good. Nazneen, how many significant figures does this number I'm displaying on the screen have?
70,020 has 4 significant figures.
It has 4 significant figures.
Yes.
Hello? Nazneen, can you give a
Yes.
reason? Because there's some people, can you give a reason? Because there's some people like Shanaz, Babire, Ashley, they're saying that it has 5 significant figures. Some people are saying it has 5. For you, you're saying it has 4. Can you give them a reason?
According to rule 1, it says that all non-zero digits are significant figures. But then rule 2 also said all the zeros occurring between non-zero digits are significant figures. And there are only 2 zeros between 7 and 2. And the 0 after 2 is not in between. So it's not referred to as a significant figure. Therefore, 70,020 has only 4 significant figures.
Very good, Nazneen. Very good, Nazneen. Thank you so much. Nazneen is saying that, first of all, looking at rule 1 says that all the non-zero digits are significant figures. So 7 and 2, she's already counting them as significant figures. Then rule 2 says that the zeros that are in between non-zero digits should also be counted as significant figures. And according to this number, it is only the 2 zeros that are in between that are going to be counted as significant figure. The 0 after will not be counted because it's not in between. Thank you so much, Nazneen Katende. So therefore, we are concluding, members, that 70,020 has only 4 significant figures. The other 0 at the end is not a significant figure because it's not in between, it is at the end. Is that okay? So should I say that people are comfortable with now rule 1 and rule 2? Thank you so much. Thank you. Now we are moving to rule 3. Let's display the book again. Come and put the book up. Share screen. So we are now on rule 3. Rule 3 is saying that zeros at the right of a decimal point and at the left of non-zero digits are not significant. Okay? 0 at the right of a decimal point and at the left of a, where's the other one? At the left of a non-zero digit, the one that ran before, maybe page, the club is a picture. Not the book, but the one I shared with you. I wanted to get a simpler way of summarizing that that rule so that you can understand it better, so that you cannot disorganize. You don't So let's look at the work before. Let's look at the rule. That one. Are you seeing rule 2 and rule 3? Rule 2 says leading zeros are never significant. So rule 3, I'm simplifying rule 3 in this way. Leading zeros are never significant. Okay? Leading zeros are never significant. And in the page that I'm displaying on the screen, you can see example B. Are you seeing example B? It has 0.00456. And they're saying that all those zeros, all the 3 zeros that are leading, we don't count them as significant figures. So let's summarize it and say that leading zeros are never significant. Leading zeros are never significant. Is that okay? And rule 2 works hand in hand with rule 3. For you to understand it better, it's better we study them together. We have rule 3 saying that trailing say meaning comes after, okay? Comes after the word trailing in simple terms, coming after. Trailing zeros are significant, are only significant if there is a decimal point in that number. So if you have a trailing one, the one that is not leading, it's trailing, it's coming after, you will only consider it to be significant if there is a decimal point somewhere. If there is a decimal point somewhere. So let's look at example C. Example C has 2,300. 2,300, it has 2 zeros. Those zeros are trailing zeros, but we are not going to count them as significant figures because we can't see any decimal point anywhere. Are you seeing that? We don't have any decimal point anywhere. So we cannot consider 2,300, we cannot consider the zeros in that number to be significant. In that case, we will only count, okay. Please let me first. Okay, our kid, you're distracting the class. So we are saying in example C, 2,300, the 2 zeros are trailing. We are not going to count them as significant because there is no decimal point. We should be able to give ourselves these reasons. Since we don't see any decimal point anywhere, we are not going to count those zeros as significant even if they are trailing. But when you look at example D, example D has 130.00. We are going to count all those 3 zeros as decimal points, as significant figures, because all those 3 zeros, because there is a decimal point. Since there is a decimal point, we're going to count all those zeros as significant. So in example D has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 significant figures. We are counting the zeros as significant because there is a decimal point. So I conclude saying that you should only count a 0 that is trailing as a significant figure if there is a decimal point somewhere. And I'm only talking about the trailing ones. I'm not talking about the leading ones. The ones which are leading, even if there is a decimal point, don't count it. Don't count them as significant figures because they are leading. The rule says, refuses us to count zeros as significant figures. We only count trailing zeros as significant if there is a decimal point in presence. Is that okay? So to check and see if people have understood, we should look at the examples they gave us. Examples on the screen. I want to put my own examples here and I check to see if people have understood. I have a number. How many significant figures Make the screen bigger. How many significant figures? Okay. How many significant figures does this number I'm displaying on the screen have? How many significant figures does this number I'm displaying on the screen have? So I'm seeing people's responses, favor, and now I want to choose someone. These ones who are raising up their hands to see. And they should give me the reason why. So I can see some people giving me different answers. Hello?
Hello? Rule
Yes.
0.0. My name is Najinda Maisun Mulumba. 0.0.
Yes, Najinda.
0.0325 is not considered as significant. The two zeros at the beginning are not considered significant numbers because rule number 2 said leading zeros are not significant. Even if there is a decimal point,
okay.
the leading zeros are not considered significant. And the
so you can't.
3 to 5, the 3 to 5 are considered significant since rule number 1 said all non-zero digits are significant figures.
All the non-zero digits are significant. So Najida is telling us that the two zeros at the beginning, they are leading zeros. And the rules say that leading zeros are not significant. All leading zeros are not significant. So she's counting 3 to 5 to be significant. Those are 3 significant figures because the 3 to 5 are non-zero digits. So Najinda is saying that for her, she sees the number has 3 significant figures. Very good, Najinda. I want to listen to another person. Judith, are you with me? Judith, are you with me? Choose someone else in the combination. Anisha.
Yes, teacher.
How many significant figures does this number I'm displaying on the screen have?
In my opinion, I had a question.
You had a question, yes, Anisha?
Yeah, I had not understood something. Like for
you
example,
hadn't understood something.
Yes. You gave examples in that you gave examples of 0.00456.
In the other work, eh?
Yes. And then you say, and then they said leading zeros do not count. I'm not getting it.
They don't,
because
I'm
not getting it. Because I thought that after the decimal point, the 2 zeros are counted. But they are saying they're
after
not
the
counted.
decimal point.
Yes. That's what I want to understand.
Yeah. Let me share the work again. So Hanisha is saying that on example B, are you all seeing example B? Example B is saying that 0.00456, they're saying that the 3 zeros that are leading, we don't count them as significant figures. For us, she thinks that they should count them as significant figures because there is a decimal point and they are after a decimal point. Hanisha, let me repeat for you the rule. The rule says, first of all, for as long as the 0 is leading what? Leading non-zero digits, okay? Leading non-zero digits. For as long as it's leading, first of all, you should never count it as a significant figure. What does it lead? It leads non-zero digits. Is that okay? Second, the other rule says trailing zeros are significant if there is a decimal point. Only trailing zeros. First of all, the zeros should be trailing. They should come after. They should be at the right-hand side. Is that okay? Of non-zero digits. What are they trailing? They are trailing non-zero digits, or they're coming after non-zero digits. But also them, you should count them if you've seen a decimal point wherever the decimal point would be. Wherever the decimal point will be. So the condition is they should be trailing. First of all, they should be trailing zeros. They should be at the right-hand side. They should come after non-zero digits. I'm using those three words, assuming that they are meaning the same thing, okay? Trailing, coming after, being at the right-hand side, all those words are meaning the same thing. So you should only count those zeros if they are trailing, they are at the right-hand side, they are coming after non-zero digits in presence of a decimal point. There should be a decimal point, wherever the decimal point is. Hope I'm clear, Hanisha.
Yes, teacher. Teacher.
Okay. Still Hanisha?
Okay, yes.
Yes,
Okay,
Hanisha.
I've understood, but supposing they give you 0.00.
Supposing they give you 0.0.
00.
Zero what?
Just
Only
00. Only zeros.
Remember, as Hanisha is asking, what if they give you at 0.00 only?
Yes.
Like this. Like this, Hanisha.
Yeah.
Is this really meaningful, Hanisha? Because we say it's significant figure, the number has to remain meaningful. Meaningful meaning that you can use that number to measure. Like I've measured the length of this table. Can you say that the length of this table is 0.00 centimeters? Really? Is there a table that is that length? Or can you say that I weighed the mass of this item is 0.00 grams? Can you really measure? Because we use these numbers for measurements.
Okay, thank you, teacher. I've understood completely.
So the number has to remain meaningful that you can use it to measure. It can be used in measurements to specify a certain quantity in measurements. So 00 cannot be used to specify a certain measurement. Is that okay?
Okay, teacher. Thank you very much.
Back to my number, Hanisha, to show that you have understood. That number I'm displaying above, 0.0325. How many significant figures does it have?
It has 3 significant figures.
It has 3 significant figures. Why?
Because the leading zeros are not counted as significant
because the
figures.
Leading zeros are not counted as significant figures. You have really understood. Okay. Now I'm giving you another number. I'm giving you another number for people to tell me. I'm giving you another number. I'm giving you another number. About we have a number here. How many? This is a decimal point. Hope it's clear. How many significant figures does this number have? How many significant figures? Please, when you're posting your answers, give me the reason also. Hafi, post also the reason why. Why are you saying that it has only 2 significant figures? Rizik is saying it has only 1. Why? Okay. Kasana is saying it has only 1. Can you please post for reasons that people can share? People are telling me 1. So I'm choosing Favor here. Okay. Favor, what answer do you have? Yes, Favor.
I have I have 2 significant figures.
You're saying it has 2 significant figures. Yes, because?
Yes. Because like you have said that when you are counting significant figures,
Favor, not clear.
You're not count that 0. We are not supposed to count. We are not, because the leading 0 is not counted, and on rule number 2, all zeros occurring between non-digits are significant figures. And in one of the examples you have given was
70,020.
Yes, and then there was a 0 at the end, and we counted it.
Why did we count this 0 at the end? This one here. But that one in 70,020, we didn't count the 0 at the end.
We count that 0 because that 0 leaves the number meaning.
Who is this one? Who is this one I'm talking to? Favor, you have not yet understood properly. You have not yet understood.
Teacher, me, I pick
Is
two.
this one? Your name first?
Amira.
Yes, Amira.
That's Amira.
Yes, Amira.
Teacher, there are two significant figures because first we don't count the leading 0 and we count the zeros after. We can count the zeros after the decimal point. So there are two significant figures. Yes.
But that second reason, you're correct, but the second reason, it's not the 0 being after. It should be after and 0 digit. Have you heard, Amira?
Yes.
It should be after non-zero digit. Okay? So we are concluding by saying this number has two significant figures. This number has two significant figures. Why? This first 0 is a leading 0. So any leading 0, we don't count it as a significant figure. Then these other ones, we're going to count them as significant figures because, first of all, a 2 is a non-zero digit. That's when we count it. Then this 0 is at the right-hand side of a non-zero digit. It is trailing. It is coming after a non-zero digit. In presence of a decimal point, there is a decimal point somewhere. Okay? So Shanaz, this number has two significant figures. Thank you. Shanaz has now corrected her work. It has two significant figures. So we are counting the 0 because it is after a non-zero digit and there is a decimal point somewhere. We don't care the position of a decimal point. I'm hearing an excuse me somewhere.
My name is Kemigisa Gertrude.
Your name is?
Kemigisa Gertrude.
Gertrude, yes.
So,
yes, Gertrude.
Can I give you a question? Like, let's say 1.028.
They give you a question like 1.028.
And then they tell you to
count the number of significant figures.
Yeah.
Yes, they can. Let me display it for your friends that they count for you. Members, you said your Kemigisa. Kemigisa is asking 1.028 has how many significant figures? There is a point. I don't know if it's clear. 1.028. How many significant figures does it have? How many significant figures does it have? I wish people would post the reasons so that others read your reasons. Why? Because you can see people having different answers. So when you post your answer, post for us also the reason. Put your answer alongside your reason. Okay? So let me choose Mariam to explain to who? How many significant figures does this number have?
Teacher.
Yes.
I hadn't understood. So I hadn't understood.
What hadn't you understood?
Teacher.
Name, please.
Oh. Hello? Teacher, are you hearing me?
Hello?
Teacher. Excuse me, teacher.
Yes, what's your name?
I'm Akunda Remita. The number has four significant figures because the 0 in the number is
that's because the 0
is after decimal point and the number before the decimal point is significant.
So the 0. So which reason? Which one is not clear? Which rule are you using?
Significant. I'm using the rule whereby the 0 that is after a decimal point and okay, like the number before the decimal point is significant. Therefore, also if there is a 0 after the decimal point, that 0 is also significant.
Okay, thank you so much. The reason is a little confused, but in this number, when you look at this number, two rules can be applied here. Two rules can be applied here. When you look at this number, two rules can be applied here. First of all, this 0 is in between non-zero digits. This 0 is in between non-zero digits. So all these ones, we're going to count them as significant because the 0 is in between non-zero digits. Okay, so this number has 4 significant figures because the 0 is in between non-zero digits. Is that okay? I'm using that rule. That is the best rule that will apply there. But I've seen many who have passed it. So we are concluding that number had 4 significant figures. Lastly, to tell if you have understood, okay, there's this number I'm displaying here. This one, 1.4750. How many significant figures does it have? 1.4750. How many significant figures does it have? Please, as you post your answer, put a reason. 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 Oh. People are not giving me reasons. Asime, give me a reason. Thank you, Ankunda. Ankunda is saying 5 because the 0 is after. Nazini is saying 5 significant figures because 5 because the 0 counts due to presence of a decimal point. Wow, thank you. Thank you, Azra, for a good reason. Azra has a very good reason. Abigaba is saying that because the 0 is after and is counted. And Ashura is saying 5 because zeros are after decimal point and are significant. Okay. Someone wants to explain. Amal, I'm not seeing you here. Nega is saying 4 because the 0 is at the end, but we don't have any rule that is saying that. We don't have any rule talking about the 0 being at the end. Which rule is that? Nagadia is saying 5 because the 0 digits are, the messages are moving so fast. Florence is saying 5 because, okay, thank you. So let's look at the number, okay? I'm looking at this one below. We are saying that this number, first of all, the 1 is a non-zero digit, we're going to count it. Then the 4 is also a non-zero digit, we're going to count it. Then the 7 is also a non-zero digit, we're going to count it. Then a 5 is also a non-zero digit, we're going to count it. Now this 0 that is confusing most of us, this 0, we are also going to count it. Why? It is trailing. It is trailing. It is a trailing 0. It comes after. It is at the right-hand side of non-zero digits. And there is a decimal point somewhere. And there is a decimal point somewhere. So we are going to count this 0 also to be part of the significant figures because this 0 is trailing and there is a decimal point somewhere. Is that okay? So in total, the number has 5 significant figures. So congratulations to all those who have passed it. Lastly, so this one you're saying is 5 significant figures. Lastly, I have a number. Lastly, there's this number down here, the last one. Look at it, 0.701. Yes, write somewhere, of course. Summarize the rules somewhere in your books. So how many significant figures does this one have? Angela, put for me your reason. Kezabu Bella, put a reason, please. Don't just saying that.
We give them like 30 minutes to put their answer, then we look.
Okay, because the 0 is in between. Thank you. Karen is saying 3 because we don't count the starting 0. Very good, because it's a leading. Kezabu, it is because the 0 is in between significant figures. Very good. Jemima is saying 3 because the 0 is in between. 3 because, okay. 3 leading zeros do not count. So people are not counting this verse 0 because it's a leading 0. Very good. So people have understood that. But for as long as we have a leading 0, we don't count it. Now we are counting this 0 because it's in between non-significant. I mean, it's in between non-zero digits, or it's in between significant figures. Is that okay? Thank you so much. So the answer, it has 3 significant figures. Okay, so we have concluded that this number has 3 significant figures. Congratulations, Janan. Congratulations all those who have passed it. Now we have an exercise in our book, the physics prototype textbook. I'm displaying it on page 27, exercise 2.4. Exercise 2.4. Sorry, I'm giving you a few minutes. Set the number of significant figures in the following measurements. Go to exercise 2.4. I'm displaying it on the screen. Page 27. So we have exercise 2.4. I'm giving you a few minutes for you to attempt those numbers. So I'm giving you minutes. Meanwhile, people are attempting the exercise. Those who have questions, I should be listening to questions. So you're free to post your exercise on our WhatsApp group. Please, we don't want any other jazz. And feedback. Don't post anything. If you have a personal question, inbox someone, or you have those other social groups of yours. You ask. Don't use our group. Don't use our group to post your funny questions. This group is strictly for math and physics discussions. So I'm waiting to answer a few questions in these remaining minutes. Hello?
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes, your name?
Should you mention the grace?
Should you mention the what?
The reason.
No, you don't need to mention for me the reason. Just write for me the number of significant figures.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. In your book, and you post your work, you send me your work, okay? I'm waiting to mark it. Any other question? I'm waiting for questions. Those who still have questions, Anyone has a question?
Excuse me, teacher.
Your name?
Amal.
Amal, yes, Amal.
Teacher, can you say that the definition of significant figures?
Is?
Can you say significant figures is a digit used to express a physical quantity?
A physical quantity.
It was in your book.
Yes, it is okay.
So mark it.
Yes, but there's no way they're going to ask you to define it. That one was just for you to understand it, okay? For you to understand what exactly we are talking about, how different are significant figures from any other figure. So I just wanted you to be introduced to significant figures and understand what exactly we are talking about. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Any other, please? I can see people raising up your hands. I've already unmuted all of you. A few have unmuted, also raising up their hands.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes.
I
Your
have
low
a question.
Louder. Yes. Your name?
Teacher, in the Angela.
Angela, yes.
Teacher, in the activity, are the units like grams, kilometers, are they important?
In the exercise that I've given you?
Yes.
You write them there because those were measurements for something. They had measured something, okay? Maybe 300, they were measuring something, 300 in centimeters, but all I need is you to count for me the number of significant figures in that number. That's the answer I want. Is that okay? They are put the units because they are showing you that they were measurements for something. Is that okay, Angela? I can see people's hands up.
Excuse me, teacher.
Name?
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes, your name. Yes.
Nanziri.
Nanziri, yes, Nanziri.
Teacher, I wanted the number where we should post the work.
Okay, the WhatsApp number.
Yes.
The WhatsApp group. Okay, I'm going to send you a link. Please also still have the link. Share it with your friends. Assignment group. Those who have the link, please share the link where they should post.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes, yes.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes, I'm hearing you.
So I also need the link for the number.
You also need the link. You don't have any friends who had it. Do you have my number? I posted my number the other time.
No.
Huh?
No.
I think it's better to give
But your
us the
friends,
number.
it's better I give you my number, then I share with you the link.
Yeah.
But I have over 200. You mean you out of these 200, you don't have anyone? It was that link. Huh?
Teacher, we
Okay,
asked them and they said that they also don't have it.
Okay. My number is, are you writing somewhere?
Yes.
Yes.
That 0701 9 701 39 00.
Teacher, I can't hear you.
71. I'm posting it on the chat. I've posted it on the chat. I'm posting it on the chat. I'm posting it on the chat. Please, make sure you put your name. Make sure these numbers that you're using on the group have your real names. Stop putting funny names. I will not mark people whose numbers are not written on by their names. Make sure your number is registered with your real name. I don't want funny names. So I've posted my number there. What you do, I'm going to send you the link. Tell me hi, then I tell you that link. posting the work. Are you okay now? No question concerning significant figures. People have understood. That is good. Okay, so I'm waiting for the work.
Excuse me, teacher. Excuse me, teacher.
Yes. Yes, your name.
Teacher. Namagembe Linnell.
Namagembe, I have very few minutes left.
Teacher,
what are you
how
saying?
should I join the group?
Yes. I've sent my number on the chat. Are you seeing my number?
Yes, teacher.
It's there on the chat. You inbox me, then I will send you the link where we're posting the work.
Okay, teacher. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for attending. How do you exit? Thank you for attending. Have a nice day.